Do I believe that, say, hypothetically, reaching the price of $20 during this bull run as a reasonable scenario? Yeah, I don't see why not, even though that's not financial advice. The reason why is because, as we all know, people love layer 1 blockchains. Yeah, sure, they love other projects too. Like, for instance, people love directed acyclic graphs, aka a DAG, which is what exactly Hedera Hashgraph is. They also like a block DAG, much like Caspa, but it doesn't mean that a blockchain is obsolete. And layer 1 blockchains, they're still on the rise. And what better layer 1 blockchain, in my opinion, hypothetically, none other than allegedly the world's fastest parallel blockchain, which, say, allegedly again is. Now, you got to be thinking about this, right? When it comes to say they don't play no games, take a look at the competition it's up against. Take a look at Solana, Avalanche, Algorand, of course, Ethereum. But you know what? When it comes to say, they're like, yeah, nah, we're going to be the fastest parallel blockchain, hypothetically, in the world. So the way you take a look at it is that this right here is very legendary. Now, all of this is just smoke and mirrors. Sometimes people like to think, okay, it's just a bunch of random nonsense. They claim this, but is there any numbers to showcase how this is actually the case, so to speak? Yes, theoretically, because the transaction finality time of Bitcoin, for instance, is 60 minutes, which is an hour. Not too bad, especially like years ago, but take a look at Ethereum. It's 6 minutes. Now, this is good like maybe years ago at this point, but yeah, it's not that good nowadays. Take a look at Solana, though. Solana is very impressive. It's like the new and improved layer 1 blockchain. That's the way to take a look at it. It's like the layer 1 blockchain for this day and age. And that right there is 2.5 seconds. Now, this originally is actually very impressive to many people, but take a look at SEI. SEI is literally around 380 milliseconds. Can you imagine that? That's insane right there. That's less than half a second. Now, you got to be thinking about that. When it comes to this is legendary right here. I mean, not even half a second. I mean, if it was like 1 second, even then I'd be very impressed. 380 milliseconds, that's ridiculous. And of course, again, in the good way. When you take a look at SEI, man, they are just really pushing the envelope as to what a blockchain could be, in a sense. Because many times people like to say that, oh, SEI is not good enough, all this type of stuff. Well, it is good enough. It's much better, statistically speaking. It doesn't mean that it has better adoption. It doesn't mean that it has more fans or more exposure. I'm not debating that because, of course, when I debate that when it comes to Solana and Ethereum, there's no point. They have too much fans, too much exposure. But I'm debating the fundamentals here, and I think it's a lot better. Now, what is another reason why I think it's a lot better, just beyond it being very fast? It's because if you take a look at Solana, historically speaking, it has had multiple network outages. More specifically, allegedly 8 at one point in a year. That's insane. So at one point in a year, the network outages for Solana was nearly once every single month. That's kind of bad. Now, allegedly, it's been fixed, but I'm saying still, you're not going to see that with SEI, hypothetically, in my opinion. However, even besides that point, when you take a look at Ethereum, sky-high gas fees, it's arguably not even scalable. Am I saying that Ethereum is obsolete? No. But at the same time, it has to often rely on these layer 2s, again, these quote-unquote Ethereum layer 2s to fix this type of nonsense. That's a little bit messy. People don't want to deal with that, usually, in my opinion, especially when it comes to large-scale enterprises. The retail market doesn't mind because, you know what, they're still going to be fans of Ethereum anyways, and a lot of the projects that are on Ethereum do have a lot of hype. But in my opinion, what is the way to go moving forward? I think hypothetically, something like SEI. Now again, only time will tell, but that's just the way I view it. However, if you take a look at SEI as well, it can facilitate 12,500 transactions per second, and it's even been able to process over 1 billion transactions. So that's very impressive. People like to say, oh, Avalanche has been able to process over 1 billion transactions. Well, this too. So when people like to say Avalanche is good, which I do think it's good, I think this one is also good. Hypothetically, maybe even better because allegedly, again, it's the world's fastest parallel blockchain. But even besides that point, currently, it's allegedly being supported by Circle. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Circle, what is this? Is this some random drawing? No. Circle is the creator of USDC. And yes, you heard that right. USDC pretty much, people may arguably say as the number one go-to stablecoin. Now, some people may argue USDT, but that's tomato, that's debatable. But again, USDC, many people think it's amazing. And if the creator of allegedly one of the best stablecoins of all time supports a project, I hypothetically will assume that that project is good because why would they support something that's bad, if that makes sense, right? Of course, a good enterprise or like a good entity, they're not going to want to just support any random thing because their credibility is on the line. Think about that. If let's say Microsoft is supporting something or let's say NVIDIA, whatever the case may be, Do you think that they're going to want to partner with any random thing? Of course, they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to do their research. So when it comes to Circle, I think it's no different. Of course, it's not massive like those two, but I'm just saying it's massive in the grand scheme of things. And if they support SEI, I'll support it too. Not to mention, you take a look at another supporter of SEI is Coinbase. Now you got to think about this. Coinbase is one of the biggest exchanges out there. Some people may think that it's their go-to exchange. So Coinbase, again, it's legendary. These two giants against Circle, Coinbase supporting SEI, that says something in my opinion. Not to mention, when you take a look at SEI, it's listed in a bunch of major exchanges. Could the exposure be better? Could maybe the fans and hype improve? Yeah, why not? Things could always be better, but it's good enough in my opinion. And I think hypothetically, this is already good enough for it to go to the price of $20, which by the way, isn't crazy because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $89 billion. Well, let's say for simplicity's sake, we say it's $90 billion, but even besides that, it's not too bad. I mean, you take a look at BNB reaching over $100 billion in market cap. Take a look at how BNB, back in 2023, according to Crypto.com research, experienced slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks that happened that year on there, again, on the BNB smart chain ecosystem. That's so bad. I mean, that's slightly over 2 out of every 100 hacks that year occurring on there. That's not great. The crypto space is massive, even back in 2023. So this is unacceptable. If something like BNB, especially back in 2021, keep in mind, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. As of right now, there's over 600 million according to Crypto.com research. So straight off the bat, just mathematically speaking, more people, hypothetically, more FOMO, more buying pressure, more buying volume. So again, just from a straight number standpoint of view, this bull run could be a lot more special. Not to mention, you take a look at the Bitcoin ETF. This is massive. So the way I view it is that this bull run could be very legendary. Now, it's just a waiting game, but I'm willing to stay patient. I'm going to still accumulate, hold, and I just wait. That's it. And keep in mind, historically speaking, usually as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they do peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April of last year in 2024. So based on that, 18 months is actually around October this year. I'm not saying that in this year, October, SEI is going to reach $20. I'm not saying that. However, hypothetically, I think this does give a good benchmark because maybe things could happen earlier, which would of course be amazing. But let's say it happens a little bit later, then whatever, I'll still accumulate anyways. It's not that bad either way. For the people who've been waiting ever since 2021, waiting like months, or let's say like 10 months or whatever, or maybe up to a year, or maybe even earlier, let's say 6 months, whatever the case may be, it doesn't seem like a big deal. You know what I mean? The way I view it is that when it comes to people thinking that, oh yeah, it's waiting so long. Well, if they entered as of right now, then maybe waiting even a couple months may feel like quite a while. But for the people who've been in the space for years, this is like peanuts. This is like easy peasy. So again, in the meantime, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging anytime an income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting because I do believe in SEI, and I think it's arguably one of the best projects of all time. Reaching the price of $20 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Bye.